I guess what I've been trying to say is that the natural gas presents us with the easiest and option that we could imagine. It will pay for the kind of transition that we need. It will develop the electrical infrastructure as we develop it that's required for renewable sources, wind or solar, to the extent that they're practical. And it will naturally reduce greenhouse forcing and be much cleaner and better for health. And it'll pay for it all on its own. This is happening automatically. We're getting economic benefit. We're seeing the reduction of 10% reduction of CO2 emissions in the U.S. Europe, with all that they've done in the way of wind and solar, is only 9%. Ours is 10%, and it's related about half to changes in the mileage and limits on cars, and about half due to the substitution of natural gas for coal and electricity generation. We've converted on the order of about 40 gigawatts of coal burning generation with natural gas generation. That's 40 1 gigawatt nuclear power plants. That's a lot of conversion, all happening automatically. So if you imagine a world without this sort of natural gas assist, you're going to have to do the same thing that you could do naturally, and with everybody more or less on board with natural gas, you're going to have to do the same thing with a lot of regulation and a lot of coercion. And there will be a very big cost to pay for that. I don't think the world, absent a well-planned and feasible and pragmatic and practical transition, is a very good one. You'd have rolling brownouts and all kinds of sort of issues and problems that you just don't need to have. So I don't think a non-gas future is one that makes sense. To me, it certainly doesn't. And I would hope that we would have the maturity to move forward in a way that incorporates different opinions and as carefully and so on and so forth as we can, but move forward in a pragmatic and non-ideological way. Okay, so in summary then, I really think that it would be hard for an area or a country to be given a better gift than the Marcellus resource that we've been presented with. I don't see significant downsides to it. It is a significant resource. It will make us much more independent of the rest of the world of energy than we are. It will make our manufacturing and chemical industry more viable and more competitive. It will provide jobs, high-level jobs, as well as a lot of just work-related jobs, but good jobs. It'll stimulate the local economy, and it'll help the country as a whole. And I think, and it'll reduce greenhouse warming. So these are benefits that I think are apparent already in the areas where this is developed, and it's clear that it's just the start. The risks, I think, are manageable. If you were to visit the equivalent economic stimulation on an area like Pennsylvania or New York State as you would get from the development of natural gas, I think you would have more negatives. The natural gas is ideal in the sense that it doesn't require a permanent workforce. The workforce comes in and then leaves. You don't have to build schools. You don't have to build houses. You don't have to do a lot of the things that you would have to do if you had the equivalent amount of economic stimulation of some other kind, say manufacturing. The benefit goes largely to the people that really need it most. We've got struggling farms in the area, farmers that are barely hanging on, family farms that are being sold. This could preserve them for another generation. And I think to everybody's benefit. It's beautiful countryside around in the area. There are risks. There are some risks associated with groundwater spillage and things like that we've talked about, but these are risks that can be managed, and they're risks mainly to the people that would be making the local decision as to whether or not to have gas development on their land or not. They would accept the risk of perhaps some spills and perhaps some inconvenience. There are permanent benefits that appeal to me a great deal, and one I'd like to plug just personally is the idea that you might, out of this, lay the framework for a trail system, hiking trail system, in some of the prettiest areas of the country. Pennsylvania and New York State, these areas are absolutely gorgeous. It would be wonderful to have a network of trails so that you could take off in the morning and walk for a whole day or whatever around in the countryside. It would be heavily used by a population that could be the basis of bed and breakfast type industry in these areas, and would be a permanent asset for hundreds of years in the future. The difficulty getting these sorts of trails and whatnot established is getting, in principle, the rights of way or the passageways approved, particularly by landowners and others that are not necessarily keen on having people walk across their land. But if you're going to have pipelines anyway, why not set aside at least the possibility of hiking right of way at some point in the future as part of the deal? And I would hope that these sorts of things could be considered. I appreciate that there may be pluses and minuses and anxieties, but I think it could be down the line a wonderful benefit to society. And I just point to countries like Norway, where Norwegians are able to walk anywhere on trail systems all over the country, and they're very polite and mindful of the needs of the farmers and whatnot. They keep the gates closed, and a lot of Norwegians, and I've enjoyed this myself, just take off on the weekends and hike a whole day and then come back. And it's free and it's good exercise and it's beautiful country, and we could do the same thing.